Howdy everybody, we are moving on to the software part of the ESP32 sound controller and light board, or be the loud sound and light controller by the DIYGuy999 that you can get off of GitHub. All of the software, the software for the programming for the controller here, you can get off GitHub. I'll leave links down in the description below. These programs can work in Arduino and Visual Studio. I did try to figure it out on Arduino, but it just wasn't compiling. No matter what I did, I just wasn't getting a successful compile so I can download it. So I moved on Visual Studios here, and if you read the README files, it does recommend using the Visual Studios here because it is kind of a little bit more user-friendly when it comes to downloading the required files that it needs to operate, because there are a lot of files that you do have to download in conjunction with the program that he came up with. So first thing you do is do the reading on the README file, and that'll explain a lot. But if you're not familiar with Visual Studio, the first thing you would do is you would go to their website here and download the software for your platform, Windows, Mac, Linux, and you would just download it. I'm not going to download it, I already did it. So, and then you are going to have to download one more program, and that's the platform IO. And if you do go down here to the README file, I believe it does give you a spot to where you do have to download it from. And this is where you would start from, is the README file. You know, you would go through each one, and if you look off to the side here, it is quite extensive. But it's a lot of useful information that you need to know. Okay, so to understand what's going on with this program, because I do have to say it's not quite user-friendly if you're a beginner. If you do got some background in Arduino and the programming and the lingo, it's not so bad. You know, that's why I was actually able to traverse it. But Arduino, yeah, it's a little bit more finicky. So, but here you would just read everything, go from there. And then the next spot you would go to is the platform IO-INI folder. And this is where it's like a config file, to where you actually have to set up the ESP32 in conjunction with this program. And as you can see in this area here, between line 13 and 20, is that you have several different platforms that you can use if one doesn't work. Now, I don't know what would happen if none work. I don't know. But I do have to say not all ESP32s are the same, because the one that I have for my setup for my wheel loader uses line 18 here, the ESP32 4.3 at 4.3 or 32 at 4.3, but it shows that it compiles with the fast LED 3.5 but crashes. Okay, mine didn't crash, but for some reason the ESP32 that I'm working with now didn't compile with it. It seemed it was missing a file, or it didn't like something, and it would just fail and I wouldn't be able to upload it. So I moved on to the next one, and it seems like it does work with one of the lower ones here, but I just wanted to prefer one of the updated ones. It does work with the line 20 here, the latest one, where it says not recommended. It actually works. So it all depends on what ESP32 you're working with. So this is where you would start from, is set up this. And the way I would say how it would work is to go down to the check mark here and build it. See if it'll compile, see if you get a successful build. Once you do that, then you can move on to the next step, okay, which would be your remote file, okay? This is where you would set up your transmitter. I'm working with a FlySky FS i610 or it's i6X, but it's converted over a 10 channel. But yeah, you would select it by unslashing it, so you can define it. If you're working with another controller like a loader, excavator, the GT5, you would just put hash marks or slash marks in front of the define, and then unslash the one you want, and then you would see where it changes color. Then if you got a board, you can choose the board type. Then you would move on to communications, to where if you're using either an S-Bus protocol, an I-Bus protocol, SUMD, which I'm not too familiar with, PPM or PMW, you choose one of those. I do have to say one thing: the programmer that did all this, I do have to say, kudos to him for putting down on each line what it does and what it explains what it does. So that's actually is helpful. So you can just go line by line and figure out what you got. And it's all a matter of selecting what you want and unselecting what you don't want. So then it scrolling down, you would choose your throttle setup, in conjunction with your sticks, your channels. And then reverse channels. Yeah, I mean, it's all very kind of self-explanatory once you understand what you're looking at. Okay. And then from this point, we would move on to the ECS file, to where you would move on to how you would program your ECS. And it does recommend a 1080 quick run. I'm running a 1080 quick run in my wheel loader, but I'm running a 1060 in the articulate dump truck that I'm making now. And the one problem I have run into it with it so far is you really can't program the 1060 like you can the 1080. So I'm going to make it work. The only thing that I'm actually worried about is your BEC voltage. There's no way to recognize it and what have you. So, but I'm going to make it work. So, and then we move down to here. See, as you can see here on line 48 here, he says Hobbywing 60 will work, but a 1080 is better. Okay. And then you would come down here and then define it. I believe when sometimes people may come into a problem, that's where I ran into first. I wasn't selecting the ECS that I was using, and it wasn't compiling until I read it. Okay, and then you actually have to unslash this, this one here, or if you're running a quick run, or if you're running an ECS direct, so that's a little bit more for your advanced users. All right, and then just keep scrolling down. Your brake margin, top speed adjustments, you can adjust everything in your ECS within this folder here, which I actually kind of like. So once again, read each line. For instance, line 132 here, I actually undefined it because I was actually having a problem with my transmitter sending out the wrong voltage, and then it was reading it saying that my battery needed to be charged. So I just came in here, undefined it so the program would not recognize it, and then I was good to go. But I also got to keep in mind, now it doesn't keep an eye on my battery, but that's what the transmitter's for. Yeah, so it's like a double fail safe. And then down here, it'll you have some different sounds to where it says out of fuel, German, French, Dutch, Spanish, Portuguese. Yeah. This program is very, very quite extensive. Alrighty. And then once you got those two set up, then you can move on to your vehicles. Okay, to where your vehicles folder, and you just select which one you want. And you can only select one. In this particular folder here, you can only select one vehicle. As I'm scrolling through here, you can see there's nothing else that is highlighted. So this kind of gives you an idea on how many options you have to work with. Okay, and then from there, if you want to adjust any settings within per said file, what you would do is go into the vehicles folder here, find out which one you're using. For instance, this is a Cat 34080. So let's go down here. So that would be a 34080. So that would be this one here. Now in this section, you can define what you want to do. All the volumes, idle volume, startup volume, revving sounds, jake brake sounds, choosing what type of diesel knock you want, you know, turbo. So yes, it's actually this thing's quite cool, you know, once you understand it and what have you. It's actually quite nice on what you can do with it. Like I said, it's really not kind of user friendly, but once you understand it, it's flipping great. Alrighty, so once you got that all established and what vehicle you want, all the sounds that you want, transmission, yeah, I really haven't played around with this. It's kind of a little bit extensive for me when I just want something to go forward and backwards. It's really not all that, but you can really change how it automatically shifts within the programming itself. Alrighty, then we'll move down here to the shaker. If you got a shaker motor on it, you know, it kind of defines how fast, how you know, just like on the Tamiya shaker. Lights, same thing, but this is for the NeoPixel. I'm not hooking up a NeoPixel to this, so I'm not familiar with it. I'm not going to even dive into it. Alrighty, servos. Folder here. This is if any servos that are you need to set in reverse or change the frequency of them or just tweaking it in some form of way. I don't play with this. Once again, the sound is located in the vehicle configuration directory. The dashboard is actually the LED display that you can hook up to this Micro 32. And then you have the trailer lights, which is the ones that I'm using to hook up. If I do hook up a trailer to this articulate dump, then it would have a spot for a trailer. Other than that, that's pretty much the extent of the files for the ESP32. Like I said, just if you want to dive into this, it's not so bad. Don't get discouraged when you're trying to compile a file and it just keeps failing. Find out why it's failing. I was getting a fail because it was trying to upload a sound for tequila, you know, the tequila, yeah, and it wouldn't complete the file, the compiling of it, and then it would fail. Once I figured it out, all I did was hashtag it out, select a different sound, and it was fine. So that kind of gives you an idea on what you need to do with this. If something failed, find out why it failed. It'll tell you why. It'll give you the exact everything on why it failed. And then go through each category on the left here and find the directory, find the folder, find the line, and it will be highlighted. If there's a problem, it will be highlighted, you know. And then once it's all done, you know, like for instance, I'm going to hit build right now. And then you'll see down in the terminal portal here, very small button down here, you see that it's building and it's doing okie dokie. It's doing it. Usually right about now it'll crash and it'll say fail. It'll take a second. When it takes a second like this, it tells you that's a good sign. See, you got a success. Alrighty. If it says fail, you would have a whole bunch of red lines and orange lines and yellow lines indicating what the problem is. Okay. And from there, then you would just hit your arrow to upload it onto your ESP32, which I'm not going to do, but I think I will do another ESP32 at some point in the future, because I will be building one of the PCB boards from scratch, putting all of the resistors on it, capacitors on it, diodes on it. I'll be building it from scratch. And so at that point, we'll come back to this. So on that note, let's move on to the hardware part of this, and I will show you what it looks like when it is working. Alrighty, everybody, we're going to show you what is all needed for the ESP32 sound and light controller. All right, we're going to start off with all of the LEDs. And the reason why I'm showing you these is because when you're making them, you're going to have to actually make sure you get the resistor on the correct side, which means that you're going to have to, let me see if I can get this in focus here. There we go. All right, so you just got to make sure that you have your resistor on the negative side of the LED here. You know, so you just got to make sure that you have that all correct before you hook anything up, because if not, I think you can actually do you'll blow the light. Okay, not too for sure about that, but that's what the instruction says. And the other side is a 5 volt. And this is pretty much all of the spots that is needed for the ESP32. So, and then actually I made a little bit of a kind of, there we go. I made this little Y connector here with this would hook to the microcontroller with the pins for the negative sides of the the positive sides of the lights going to the tail or the rear of the vehicle, and I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, and you're gonna have some LED lights that are split at the end here, because one's gonna have to go to the universal positive, and then this one here will go to each indicated negative for the represented lights. Okay. All right, tell you what, let's kind of move all this out of the way. Now, this is what's needed for the ESP32. We have now this here setup is for my articulated dump truck. Okay, so I'm going to be requiring one servo for the steering, the receiver. I still have to get another speaker, so I'm going to have actually 2 speakers. This is a little 2-inch mid-range woofer. Your ESP32. I do have a couple motors for the wheels, and then of course the LiPo cell battery. Okay. I would suggest using a shorty battery. I got the wrong kind, but I think it may work anyway. A shorty battery would actually give you more room underneath the canopy, or the bonnet, or the hood, or whatever you want to call it, what country you're from. But that'll just give you more room. But I think this will work here. So on that note, we can actually start hooking it up. And I'm using a Fly Sky 6-channel controller. I'll show you that in a moment. But in a moment, or right now, what we're going to do is actually just kind of start hooking everything up here. So you're actually going to need you're going to need a specific wire indicating that this is the iBus. Plug that into there, and then we're going to go to our ESP32 here, and then we're going to try and hunt down where it says the RX, which is right here. And actually there is a diagram, a PDF diagram in the instructions, the download that'll show you everything, you know. So and then on that note, we would take our speed control ECS controller and then hook it in. There is a spot located right, gotta get in line here, right there on the microcontroller here. So you kind of hook that in. And one thing about the PCB board is that it'll tell you positive, negative signal. So just look closely, and it'll tell you which way to hook them. Okay. And then as far as the speaker, we have the 2 little pins coming out the bottom here, or coming off the side here for the speakers from the amplifier. Now I still got to get another speaker. I gotta hunt down another speaker, but it'll still operate. But with stereo, it just brings the clarity out. It's actually pretty nice. Okay, and then the servo is actually going to get hooked directly into the receiver. It's not going to get hooked into the microcontroller. Even though it might work, I haven't tried it that way, but I think it will work. But I'm just going to hook it directly into the receiver. Okay, and then that's pretty much it. Now, as far as all the lighting is concerned, tell you what, I'm just going to take this servo and move it out of the way. As far as all the lighting concerned, this is where, whatever vehicle you're working with, you're just going to have to go with the flow of hooking up the lights, wiring it in, wiring the resistor into the negative side of the LED, and then just so forth and so forth, all the way back to the microcontroller here. Okay, but in the meantime, I just kind of made myself up a bunch of test subjects here and what have you. Now, I did test this before. I did check everything out here. All the lights do work. It actually surprised me. but yeah, so at the moment, what we're going to do is just pretty much hook up the lights that we need, which is pretty much turn signals, brake light, and headlights, clearance lights, maybe one beacon. Okay, so there's my two oranges, so that would be my left turn signal and my right turn signal. Okay. Roof lights, I guess we can just to kind of make sure that everything is working from the transmitter and all the functions are working okay. We're just going to hook up one roof signal, a roof light there. Now, once again, it is marked on the PCB board, yet negative and positive on here. Let's get our headlights going. So we'll hook up two little headlights here. Okay. There's our headlights. Okay, now tell you what, let's throw on a beacon. It's kind of like a little strobe. Actually, it's pretty neat. So I'm gonna be using a green one for that. So we'll throw on a beacon there. Okay. And side lights. Are we gonna need some side lights? Probably not. So, but roof lights, beacon, headlights. Alrighty. So now that's it with that. Now let's move on to the tail lights and the tail turn signals on the back half, which is going to involve your little Y connector setup that you made up here, or that I made up here, or that you do this, you're going to be making up here. And we're going to be hooking that into the 5-volt pin here. And now that's going to give 5 volts to all the pins coming out. Now, I don't know why he kind of did it that way. Probably to save on space, is what I can imagine. So, on that note, we would just actually get our white lights, which would be our reverse. So we would take our negative and put it to the reverse pin, which is the negative, and then choose any one of your positives to hook it in. Okay. Now we can go with our 2 turn signals here. Have to get a closer here. Where we at here? Right and left, right and left. Okay. So we're just gonna get that right down on in there. All right, now there is still one more spot here for the side lights that I'm not gonna incorporate right now. You know, I just kind of want to make sure that the basics work, which is my turn signals, headlights, roof lights. Yeah, just the kind of like the basics, because I know all of them work. I did check it out. It was pretty cool. So on that note, let's hook up our motor. Now, I do have a little motor set up to the side here. Okay, we'll hook up our battery and check out all of our connections again. That's actually, I have a universal power supply here that I'm going to use to power the ECS, or the actual main controller, because here you're going to need a power supply, and when it's mounted onto the articulated dump truck, it's going to be a 12-volt battery. Actually, the same battery that's powering the ECS right now is going to have a Y connector on it that's going to be powering the whole thing off of one battery. So that should work out well. Okay, so let's kind of zoom out. Okay, now I am using a Fly Sky, one of those. And so we'll go ahead and here now. In the instructions for the program, it does explain how to set up your controller for your dual rates, for the functions, for your lights, your horn, and everything else. So that's why I say you got to make sure you read everything that is associated with that program, because it'll tell you how to set all of this up. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on our controller. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And then if you want to show me how, if you want me to show you guys how to set this up, leave a comment down below, and I will make a specific video on the setup of the Flight Sky in conjunction with the TheDIYGuy999 flight control. Boy, that's a mouthful. The sound and light controller here. If you want me to make a full video on how to set up the controller for it, let me know, and I will definitely do so. But at the moment, I'm just going to show you how just that this is working and working well. All right, so now we will turn on the microcontroller, or the microcontroller here. I'm dialing it into 12 volts. All right, so that's at 12 volts now. We'll go ahead and turn on that there. Okay, you can see all the lights lit up. Okay, we will alrighty. All right, sounds like everything's working. Let's see about our servo. All right, our servo is going back and forth. And now let's see about our motor. You know what? I should have put a piece of tape on the motor to show that it was working. But it is turning. Oh, you can kind of see it. Okay, let's see. Okay, there's my brake light. All right, yep, there's a brake light. Okay, let's try and get to go backwards. Oh, there he is. Now it's going backwards. Okay. All right, let's see if we can get some lights to work. Oh, that's the sound. I guess you can turn the sound all the way off. So if we Now if we hit this control, which would be the dual functions, and then I think if you press down on the controller, oh, that shuts it off. Okay. Okay, hit it again, that turns it on. All right, let's see if we press it up. Oh, okay, there's our lights. There's our lights. So it seems like we have our headlights working and our cab lights working. There it is, there's the bright ones. Okay. Oh, there's my blinking light there for the beacon. Okay. Let's see if we can... Oh, there's my left turn signal. And there's my right turn signal. Okay. Alrighty, we seem to all be working. Nice. Now the next step is to get it all hooked into the well, I gotta finish making it first. So this will be a while before we get back to this, but at least I know that the sound and light controller are working and working very well. So yeah. On that note, we will shut this off. That's nice. So yeah, so on that note, we know everything's working. So I will set this off to the side and continue on with the main build of the articulated truck. Alrighty, everybody. Well, that concludes part 2 of the building of the sound and light controller by the DIYGuy999. If you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment down in the comment section, and I'll get back to you ASAP. I know this was kind of a quick run through of the software, the programming of it. It can be a whole video in itself on trying to explain the programming of this and really go in depth. If you want me to make one, let me know. I will try my best to put out a video and try to explain it. Also, if you have any other questions pertaining to this, let me know. Yeah, I'll be happy to give you my best knowledge as possible. So, but well, that kind of concludes everything. Well, if you like this video, check out this video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, tell a friend, and until next time, keep on RCing.